Hello all, and welcome to part 3 of this video. As I mentioned at the last outro, this was only supposed to be a two-parter video originally. But I got talking about politics, and that's a problem with me. As soon as I start talking about politics, or geography honestly, I will never stop talking. So that video ended up being 20 minutes, and I figured that no one wants to watch a 20-minute video in one setting, so instead, I'll split into 2 videos that you can watch at different times if you wish. Anyways, on with the video. Another plan Saudi Arabia has is to build a bunch of new futuristic cities. Start from scratch and build these up. I think this is kind of stupid, because as I mentioned before, they don't have the proof that anyone's going to come into these cities. But bigger yet, it's the middle of the desert. There's nothing there. There's no way you're getting water. There's no way you're getting any resources to build the cities in the first place there. It's the middle of nowhere. It is going to cost them so much money to make these things. They're way better off sticking with something like Jeddah and improving the city. Maybe making something slightly outside of Jeddah, sort of like, I don't know, called Jeddah Cancun, and something outside of it, the Mayan Riviera. That was one example, where Jeddah's the bigger city that people come into, but if they really want a vacation, they go slightly outside of Jeddah. But Neom, a planned futuristic city near the border with Jordan. I think this is a stupid idea. Don't get me wrong, the city seems great. It seems like it would be an amazing city to live in. But it's still controlled entirely by the Saudi regime, which people don't always love, for starters. Second of all, like I said, city in the middle of the desert. There's nothing around them. Absolutely nothing. So it's going to cost them billions upon billions. Honestly, it could end up costing up to $1 trillion to build a city like this, to get all the workers there, even if they don't pay them that much at all. They still have to pay them a bit. And to use all the materials to get everything there. And then what? You're just going to expect a couple million people to come to that city? You have no proof that that's actually going to happen. So, as I said, they're way better off expanding their current cities. There are many other concepts for a city. For example, the one I gotta say is the most stupid thing I've seen ever, the linear city, which is literally just a city that's a line. I don't know how wide it's supposed to be, call it 200 meters, but like one skyscraper, one skyscraper, one skyscraper, one skyscraper, one skyscraper. It just is a literal line. There's houses over here, there's, I don't know, there's the ocean over here. It seems stupid because it's a line. Why would you make a city that's a line? You can make a city that is a circle, and then everything isn't that far away from each other. But here, if you are at the ocean and you want to go to your house, you have to go all the way around the entire city. So I don't get that concept. I don't think that would ever go through. And I'm not sure any of these will go through. Saudi Arabia says they're trying, but I know that this Saudi regime knows what they're doing. They are trying to make this country a touristic country. But they know that there is a limit to their money, despite them having quite a bit of it. So I don't think they are stupid enough to build some cities like this. But they would be way better off enhancing and investing in their current cities, like Jeddah is a great example, but Riyadh would be another example, their capital. Sure, it's not on the ocean, but it still seems like it could be quite a nice city. It could be more like an Abu Dhabi as opposed to a Dubai. So both of those would be way better options than building Neom, or the Line City. It's called like Linear City or whatever it's called. Neither of those options are going to be cost effective. There's no way you're making back how much you spent in the next century. I have to say that Jeddah's strategic positioning is frankly amazing. It's better than Dubai's because it's right on the Red Sea. And when it passes through the Red Sea is the Suez Canal. You have to go through the Red Sea either if you're entering the Suez Canal or exiting from it. But if you want to get to or from Europe, the easiest way to get to any of Asia is through the Suez. By far, we know that. So, everyone has to pass right by Jeddah to get to the Suez. So, If they invest enough in Jeddah, it's already quite the economic city, but they can invest more in it. I honestly think, although I did say that no one can quite compete with Dubai, I think Jeddah can be right there. I think it can be more of an economic city, even if it never gets to the tourism level that Dubai does. So I think Jeddah easily has the capabilities. Saudi regimes just got to do what I've mentioned before and make it more of an open government so that people actually want to go there. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are not the only two countries in the Middle East with oil. There are plenty of them. Now, a lot of them like to keep to themselves, such as Oman and Kuwait, and even Jordan, and plenty of countries around that area just keep to themselves. Sure, their people are rich, but they don't want a bunch of tourism. They're happy how they are, with money, but they're not well known for having too much money, honestly. But there's one country that is right there. Qatar. Qatar is doing the exact same thing as Saudi Arabia, but maybe slightly better. They're just finished hosting the World Cup about a year ago. They spent tons of money, and they built tons of new stadiums just north of their capital, Doha. But it worked. They got tons of tourism because people are going to go to the place wherever the World Cup is. Same thing with the Olympics. So it makes sense that Qatar would host the World Cup, even though it's way too hot there. But sure, they had to spend tons of money on stadiums, but now they had all the tourism. They made plenty of money, and they showed off how nice their cities really can be. Qatar's regime is somewhere between Saudi Arabia's and Dubai. Dubai, obviously, as I said, is partially democratic. Not fully, but it's pretty close. While Saudi Arabia is a full-on monarchy. Qatar is somewhere in between. It's not quite as democratic as the UAE, but it's not quite as much of a regime as Saudi Arabia is. So this could honestly be quite a good location as well. Doha is also on the Persian Gulf, just like Dubai. In fact, if you keep going north, it's pretty easy to get to Doha. Qatar is a way smaller country though. They have way less oil, but they still have plenty of money on them. So they can truly invest as well. And they can build up their cities. And that is what they're trying to do. They've built completely new stadiums, but what I find most interesting is that they're not actually building them in the existing city of Doha. They're building them all slightly north of Doha. They're trying to build up slightly north of Doha as this new futuristic tourist city, the next Dubai. They're not the only ones, obviously, because Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing and plenty of other countries want to do it as well. But I honestly think as of right now, they are doing it by far the best because people came for the World Cup and people are continuing to go to Qatar. Their tourism obviously has dropped since the World Cup because not as many people are going as compared to the World Cup, but their tourism is still way higher than it was before they host the World Cup. And the regime's not as bad, but the bigger thing is they've stayed out of the publicity. No one knows that much about the Qatari regime. People know that it's a regime, people that study it a bit, but no one hears about any atrocities committed. So that's pretty good. Even if they are committing these atrocities, no one knows about it, which means that they are in pretty good hands. But once again, hosting the World Cup, they're able to get so much cheap labor, but they're in awful working conditions once again. And they work many hours, little to very, very little pay. They got some pay, but minuscule amounts. No one should have to survive off of that. So, frankly, they should work more into that. But that is the problem with these oil countries, is that is how they make so much of their money, is because they pay so many of their workers so little that they have plenty of money left for themselves. And I'm not so sure Qatar would be really influenced right now to ever increase a minimum wage or add a minimum wage in the first place. But if they were to get enough tourism, funny enough, then they probably would, because that's when people start to pay attention to it. The World Cup shone a bit of light on Qatar, but they've got a ways to go. If they start expanding the northern part, just north of Doha, a bit more, then that is when people start coming, but people start noticing the awful working conditions, and people start putting pressure on the Qatari government. Same thing goes for Saudi Arabia, honestly. It's too bad because they have to make money, but eventually that is honestly what could end up influencing them in the long term. But I'm not convinced that's going to happen in either place because there's already one Dubai in the world and it does well. But is there that much room for another and another and another? It just seems like too much. Do that many people want to go to Dubai that they would settle for Jeddah or Doha or even Abu Dhabi or any other city in the surrounding area? I'm not sure, because Dubai has plenty already. Dubai is Dubai. It's like settling for, I don't know, Phoenix when you want to go to Las Vegas. That was an awful comparison, because Phoenix doesn't have gambling the same way. But, you see my point. Las Vegas is Las Vegas. You can't compete with Las Vegas, just like Dubai. So nothing is going to quite be the same. Even if it's close, Dubai has everything. Dubai is Dubai. So, I am not convinced it's going to work out for any of these governments. And that could turn very, very bad for these governments once we phase out from fossil fuels. But we've got a ways to go from there. But all I can say for now is thank you for watching 30 minutes of me speak. And this is hopefully making up for the fact that I missed the past couple of weeks. Thanks for watching.